President Yoon Suk-yeol names his Security Service Chief Kim Yong-hyun as new Defense Minister. Defense Chief Shin Won-sik has been tapped as National Security Advisor and current Security Advisor Chang Ho-jin as inaugural Special Advisor for Diplomacy and Security. A major combined exercise conducted by South Korea and the U.S., the annual Ulchi Freedom Shield, is set to begin next week, posturing against evolving North Korean threats. The Paris Summer Games concluded with the grand finale over the weekend. Team Korea achieved better than expected results to finish 8th. It's August 12th, 6 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with a shakeup of key national security officials. President Yoon's chief bodyguard, Kim Yong-hyun, has been nominated as the new defense minister, while current minister Shin Won-sik will become the national security advisor. Our presidential office correspondent Kim Do-yeon explains what this change could signify.
A major reshuffle of the nation's top security officials. First, President Yoon Suk-yeol on Monday nominated a new National Defense Minister, Kim Yong-hyun, the current Presidential Security Service Chief, who has been right by the president's side for the past 3 years and is well trusted.
Kim has been chosen as the perfect fit for National Defense Minister, as he is the President's first Chief of Presidential Security Service and understands the intentions of the Commander-in-Chief better than anyone.
Before becoming the head of the Presidential Security Service, Kim was a 3-star general who commanded major forces in the ROK Army. He came into spotlight at first as he led the process of moving the presidential office from Cheongwadae, or the Blue House, to the current Yongsan presidential office when Yoon was first elected.
Security is, in fact, the economy. If I am appointed as the Minister of National Defense, I will follow the Commander-in-Chief's direction and build a strong defense system based on strong power. This will help not only to grow the national economy, but also to ensure the stability of people's daily lives.
Meanwhile, the current Defense Minister Shin Won-sik will become the President's new National Security Advisor. The former lawmaker and a 3-star general has been Defense Minister since October last year.
He has extensive field experience and deep insight in the field of defense and security. As the current Minister of National Defense, he has a high level of understanding of the pressing security issues, making him the right person to assist the President and take responsibility for national security without any gaps.
It's also notable that Shin will become Yoon's first national security advisor with a military background. There's been 3 so far. The first was a scholar in international relations, while the second and third were career diplomats. This could signify a shift in the focus of the national security policy, with the top office putting more weight on security than diplomacy due to growing security concerns around the world. Meanwhile, the current National Security Advisor Chang Ho-jin will become a new Special Advisor to the President for Foreign Affairs and National Security. This new role was established with the need for someone who can travel around the world on behalf of the South Korean government to address emerging issues and respond to the rapidly changing global environment. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Come Thursday, President Yoon will make public his thoughts on reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Our senior correspondent Woo Soo-young explains.
President Yoon Suk-yeol will initiate a new discourse on Korean unification as he delivers a speech this week to mark Korea's liberation from Japanese colonization on Thursday. An official from the Office of the President told Arirang News that the South Korean leader will share his thoughts on unification with the public during his speech on Liberation Day, building on the national community unification formula introduced by former President Kim Young-sam in his own Liberation Day speech 30 years ago. The formula envisions a 3-stage unification, beginning with reconciliation and cooperation, a union between the South and North before they completely unite as a country. The 2 Koreas are still in a state of ceasefire after the 1950-53 war, with tensions escalated by the North's nuclear and missile threat. Yoon is expected to emphasize the need to update the unification discourse to reflect the changing times as seen in global politics and inter-Korean relations. He is also likely to highlight the value of liberal democracy, taking into account the human rights violations by the North Korean regime. Yoon has previously said unification is needed to expand the universal values of freedom and human rights enshrined in South Korean democracy. South Korea's constitution does not recognize the North as a separate state and seeks peaceful unification based on a free and democratic order. Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un earlier this year called to revise the North's constitution, deeming Seoul its principal enemy and setting out to completely occupy and subjugate the South in the event of war. The Kim regime has ignored Seoul's call for dialogue and diplomacy towards a peaceful resolution of Pyongyang's threat to regional security. In his Liberation Day speech in 2022, Yoon introduced this audacious initiative, a roadmap for the denuclearization of North Korea, with corresponding measures to provide food, energy, infrastructure and healthcare for its people. A survey last year showed 43.8% of South Korean adults believe unification is necessary, down 10 percentage points from 2019. Resolving North Korea's nuclear threat was deemed the most important task for unification, followed by the easing of military tensions, then economic and cultural exchanges. Osuyoung, Arirang News.
This year's Ulchi Freedom Shield military exercise, conducted by South Korea and the U.S., will begin next week. It's aimed at strengthening the combined defense posture against evolving North Korean threats. Our defense correspondent, Choi Min-jung, reports.
South Korea and the United States are set to kick off their annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise next Monday. The UFS is a major combined military and civil exercise that includes a computer-based simulation, combined field training exercises, and Ulchi civil defense drills involving government agencies. This year, around 19,000 South Korean military personnel will take part. Some 48 outdoor drills will be held, including field maneuvers and live-fire exercises on land, sea, and air. South Korea's military says UFS 2024 is designed to strengthen the allies' combined defense posture against North Korea's increasing missile threats, GPS jamming, and cyber attacks. In particular, Seoul and Washington will aim to further strengthen their capability to deter the regime's weapons of mass destruction.
The combined ROK-US exercise is a critical factor to the strong defense posture of the Republic of Korea in times of contingencies and crisis. We are maintaining a very strong readiness posture to be able to respond immediately, strongly, and until the end, in case of provocation.
This is all designed so we don't have a failure of imagination, so we can ensure we defend the Republic of Korea.
This year's military exercise seems unlikely to be based on a nuclear use scenario. However, some military personnel will take part in the training for North Korea's nuclear program as part of the government-led Ulchi exercise. The UFS 2024 will also include participation from several United Nations Command member states and run for 11 days until August 29th. Seoul and Washington's military authorities usually keep a close eye on North Korea's potential provocation against the UFS exercise, or as the regime calls it, a rehearsal for invasion. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The United States has announced that it is to deploy nuclear-powered guided missile submarines to the Middle East. In a statement on Monday, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin stated that it will take every possible step to defend Israel, including reinforcing U.S. military forces. It's rare for the U.S. to publicly announce the deployment of a submarine. This comes amid escalating tensions in the Middle East after recent killings of Hezbollah and Hamas leaders. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier strike group, which has been in the Asia-Pacific, has also been ordered to sail more quickly to the Middle East. Elsewhere, Ukraine continues its latest counter-offensive advances into Russian territory, while Moscow continues striking major Ukrainian cities. Lee Seung-jae with the latest.
During the 2.5 years of the war in Ukraine, Russia has been on the offensive for the most part, with Ukraine doing all it can to defend itself. But the tide has seemingly turned, with Ukraine now sending troops into Russia. The Ukrainian offensive in Russia's Kursk region is now on the 6th day, with Moscow calling it a federal emergency and admitting that Ukrainian troops have advanced far into its territory. According to Moscow's defense ministry on Sunday, Ukrainian troops have advanced some 30 kilometers inside Russia in what is being considered the most significant infiltration within the Russian territory since the war began in February 2022. The comments come a day after Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky confirmed that his troops are fighting in Russia.
Today, I received several reports from Commander-in-Chief Syrskyi regarding the front lines and our actions to push the war onto the aggressor's territory. I'm grateful to every Defense Forces unit for ensuring that. Ukraine is proving that it can indeed restore justice and ensure the necessary pressure on the aggressor.
The statements marked the first time that the Ukrainian president had officially admitted to the incursion, having remained quiet despite being days into its operation. In response to the Ukrainian offensive, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova accused Ukraine of intimidating the peaceful population of Russia. Meanwhile, Russia has continued its airstrikes in major Ukrainian cities overnight, including the capital Kyiv, killing 2 people, including a 4-year-old child and his father. Kyiv's Air Force says it shot down 53 of the 57 Russian attack drones, adding that Russia had used North Korea's KN-23 short-range ballistic missiles during the offensive. With Ukraine sending its troops inside Russia and Moscow looking to both counter and respond to their offensives, the prolonged war could see more bloodshed moving forward. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol on Monday vetoed 4 contentious broadcasting bills that had been unilaterally passed by the opposition party. The National Assembly last month passed the 4 opposition-led bills amid a ruling People Power Party walkout and protest. The bills aim to revise broadcasting laws to alter the structure of public broadcasters in the country and reduce government influence on them. The presidential office called Yoon's veto unavoidable, stating that the bills could harm the fairness and public interest of broadcasting. The vetoed bills will now revert to the Assembly for revotes. President Yoon has vetoed a total of 19 bills since taking office. Findings for the first half of this year show the number of foreign learners to Korea surpassing 200,000 for the first time. Yoon covers the numbers and their implications.
According to data released by the Korea Tourism Organization on Monday, the number of foreigners that came to South Korea to study for training or other learning surpassed 200,000 in the first half of this year. That is a 50.6% increase from the same period the previous year, and also a new record. The KTO suggests the reason for the increase is the continued influence of the global K-wave that has resulted in more foreigners wanting to learn the Korean language or study in Korea. By nationality, around 55.2%, or 112,000 of the 204,000 visitors were from China, followed by 33,000 from Vietnam, 6,900 from Japan, 6,700 from Mongolia, and 5,000 from Uzbekistan. And more than 3,000 visitors came from both France and the United States. The KTO says global interest in South Korea has increased due to the influence of K-content, like K-pop, K-movies, K-dramas, K-beauty, and K-food. The number of foreigners visiting Korea for educational purposes had steadily increased before the COVID-19 pandemic in the second half of 2019 to 191,000 people, but dropped significantly to 30,000 in the second half of 2020. Meanwhile, the South Korean government and universities outside the capital area have agreed to more MOUs and partnerships to increase the number of international students. Universities have been creating new programs catered to foreign students wanting to learn the Korean language and culture, as the government implements policies to ease visa restrictions for international students. A researcher from the Korea Small Business Institute, a research institution for the sustainable development of small and medium-sized enterprises, said that rather than bringing experts from abroad, it is more realistic to add international students who can speak Korean into the labor force, adding that the government should consider expanding programs and support measures. 이은진, Arirang News.
On the cultural front, there's exciting news for many K-drama fans. Now it's possible to experience what it's like to be a K-drama actor or character. Our culture correspondent Song Yujin reports on this new immersive exhibition.
If you're a drama lover, you've probably imagined what it would be like to step into the shoes of your favorite character. Fans of Korean dramas now have the chance to make that dream a reality at the K-Drama Spotlight Be the Leading Role exhibition. Hosted by the Culture Ministry and the Korea Tourism Organization, the exhibition features 12 different sections that let visitors experience what it's like to be a K-drama actor or even a character within the drama itself.
So the moment you step inside this exhibition hall, it feels like you've just become a star of a hit K-drama. And what's the first thing every celebrity does? Walk the red carpet. So here, you can kick off your experience by stepping right onto the red carpet for your very own photo shoot.
With the help of cutting-edge technology, the experience feels incredibly real. After a photo shoot, you can step onto a real-life K-drama set, hold a fan meeting through VR glasses, or create your very own avatar that looks like a popular K-drama character using AI technology.
With the rise of streaming services and with various cultural content out there, dramas tend to lose their popularity more quickly than before. We created this exhibition to help K-drama fans relive the emotions they felt when they first watched their favorite dramas.
For visitors, it's a one-of-a-kind experience. This exhibition is even more special for Bita and Looney, who starred in some of the videos shown at the exhibition.
It was a really great experience to not only be able to see myself on such a big screen, but also to be able to immerse myself with a lot of the dramas that I am a fan of, like The Glory. There was the badok scene where you can be in the park with all the different seasons.
When they called us up, when they took pictures of us, it was, it's a huge milestone in my career, and I'm very proud of us.
If you're looking to escape the heat and live out your K-drama fantasies, K-Drama Spotlight Be the Leading Role is open every day until November 12th, free of charge, with no reservations needed. 송유진, Arirang News.
As the unique flavors and aesthetics of Korea spread across the world, more guests are coming to Seoul to enjoy special desserts and meals. Our Choi Soo-hyung brings us some midsummer night dining in a traditional hanok.
As night falls, lights illuminate the quiet and peaceful traditional Korean hanok house. At the Korea House in the heart of Seoul is a colorful array of royal court desserts from the Joseon dynasty. On a deep summer night, you can share special moments with loved ones, enjoying traditional sweets paired with tea or wine. Since 2020, the Korea Heritage Agency has been showcasing the Kohojae series, a selection of royal desserts that match the 4 seasons in South Korea: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Kohojae means a home for those who love the old ways. This summer, for the first time, it has introduced a nighttime dessert course under the theme at Midsummer Night's Kohojae. Guests can enjoy a course of desserts with wines selected by a professional sommelier. Or if they want a full dinner, they can try traditional Korean foods like abalone hwayangjak, a beef and vegetable brochette prepared by expert Korean chefs.
When people think of traditional desserts, they usually think of tea, but we've paired them with wine or traditional Korean liquors. Many find this collaboration interesting, and they also enjoy the nighttime scenery of the hanok.
Even if foreigners are not familiar with Korean, they can reserve a table by Googling Cash Table Global and searching for Korea House Kohojae.
At Midsummer Night's Kohojae is available every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday until August 31st. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
The Summer Olympics in Paris concluded over the weekend. For more on Team Korea's achievements, we have our sports editor, Paul Need, in the studio with us. Evening, Paul.
Hello there.
So it's proved to be a successful Olympics for Team Korea?
Yes, that's right. Did 8th place with 13 gold medals, 9 silver and 10 bronze. The gold medal total is equal to South Korea's best at a Summer Olympics, having won the same number in 2008 and 2012. It was the smallest delegation, having failed to qualify for basketball, volleyball and football, among other team sports, but it made very little difference as Team Korea reached its gold medal target of 5 just 3 days in. Not only that, but Team Korea won at least 1 medal in all but 3 days throughout the Olympics, which ran for 16 days in total.
As you mentioned, medals were won on most days throughout the Games, and that included the last weekend.
Yes, a handful of medals won over the weekend for Team Korea, and that includes Park Hye-jung's silver in the women's weightlifting, doing so in the heaviest weight class too, no less. Park finished with 299 kilograms, 131 in the snatch and 168 in the clean and jerk. The total weight and scores in the snatch are national records. Meanwhile, Song Sung-min won bronze in the modern pentathlon, becoming the first South Korean female to win an Olympic medal in the sport, and also the first Asian female to win a modern pentathlon medal. Lee Da-bin won bronze in the women's taekwondo over 67 kilograms category, beating Lorena Brandl of Germany 2-1. South Korea sent 4 taekwondo athletes to Paris, and 3 came away with medals, with Park Tae-jun and Kim Yoo-bin both winning gold. Meanwhile, the women's table tennis team won bronze. Shin Yoo-bin, Jeon Ji-hee and Lee Eun-hae beat Germany 3-0 via 1 doubles game and 2 singles matches.
And with so many medals won and records broken, it's a little hard to single out just 1 or 2 athletes as being the so-called MVPs, but I understand the media, domestic media, have had a vote.
They have, yes. Kim Woo-jin and Im Si-hyun have been voted as Team Korea's MVPs. Both won 3 gold medals in archery. The Korea Sports and Olympic Committee made the announcement on Sunday. They both won gold in their individual events, team events, and then together in the mixed team event, as South Korea made it a clean sweep of 5 gold medals across the 5 archery events. Then on Sunday, the closing ceremony was held, but it was 2 other Team Korea stars who were part of the event. Park Tae-jun and Im Hae-ji were Korea's flag bearers. Park won gold in the men's 58-kilogram taekwondo, while Im won bronze to become the first female Korean boxer to win an Olympic medal. Over 80,000 were in attendance at the Stade de France, and they witnessed Hollywood movie star Tom Cruise make a cameo appearance, taking the Olympic flag before leaving for LA, the host of the next Olympics in 2028.
All right, thank you, Paul, for that. See you next week.
Thank you. See you.
In Seoul, tropical nights have continued for 22 days in a row, as last night the minimum temperature again exceeded 25 degrees Celsius. The problem is that the same heat is expected to continue for more than a week. This week, the heat wave is expected to strengthen as high temperature dry winds gradually increase. Tomorrow there will be 20 to 30 millimeters of rain in the Seoul metropolitan area, inland areas of Gangwon-do province, and western parts of the Jeollado provinces. On Wednesday, there will also be showers in the center and western parts of the country and the Jeollado provinces. Tomorrow, Seoul and Jeju will start off at 27 degrees. Highs will move up to 35 in Seoul, Chuncheon, and Daejeon. Gwangju, 34 degrees. The heat wave and tropical nights will continue until next week after Malbok and National Liberation Day. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.
Completely new. But something anyone can relate with. Flawlessly made. And tears that go with it. K-drama. Korea is coming at you with another story to tell. Children's. Laughter. Hope. Dream. K-animation belongs in them. Interesting and valuable story that transcends between everyday life and dream. Surprising spectacle where imagination becomes real. An array of subjects catering from infants to adolescents. For our story to reach all corners of the world. K-animation makes healthy laughter for children.
진짜 한국에선 어떻게 먹는지 알려줄까? K-바비큐? 신김치랑 먹어야지. 치킨? 치맥 페스티벌은 처음이지. 김치? 종류만큼 먹는 법도 가지각색. 김밥? 시장에선, 산에선, 바다에선 이렇게. 국밥? 취향 따라, 입맛 따라. 이런 한국, 와보지 않고는 모를걸? 요즘 한국에선 어떻게 노는지 알려줄까?
한국에선 아이돌이 되어볼 수도 인생 번호를 찾을 수도 있지.
제일 핫한 포토 스팟은 여기.
한국은 분명 너에게 새로운 영감을 줄 거야.
이런 한국, 와보지 않고는 모를걸?
Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Arirang's Within the Frame. I'm Handan in Seoul. Some 100 domestic helpers from the Philippines have recently landed in South Korea as the country seeks fresh ways to alleviate the burden on working moms and address plunging birth rate. This initiative highlights Korea's broader efforts to expand its foreign workforce in response to severe labor shortages amid a rapidly worsening demographic crisis. On today's Within the Frame, we zoom in on the government's latest measures to welcome more foreign workers and also some of the key issues surrounding migrant workers here in Korea. For that, Cho Hee-kyung, professor at Hongik University's College of Law, joins us via Skype. Welcome to the program.
Hello.
And for another voice on the topic, we also have Zelana Zemire, lecturer at Hanyang University, with us tonight. It's great to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Zemire, let's start off with you. The Employment Permit System, or EPS, first introduced in 2004, celebrates its 20th anniversary this year. What impact have foreign workers had on Korean society over the past 20 years?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. And as always, I hope that my insights would be beneficial. And I would like to apologize to your audience in advance. I'm currently located abroad in Croatia, and there might be some light disruptions, but I'll do my best. So you asked me about the EPS and about the foreign workers. So we have to acknowledge first that EPS system was introduced to replace much more severe system. That was a trainee system that envisioned absolutely zero rights for foreign workers. EPS itself was seen as a big win for the civil society in Korea. So actually, the system, even though we hoped it would solve the problem initially, we actually realized that over the years, there have been numerous problems. Currently, there have been around 1 million foreign workers employed in South Korea, and this includes roughly 30% of people employed under the EPS, roughly 30% of people who are ethnic Koreans, meaning Chosunjok and Koryoin, and roughly 40% of people who are employed as marriage migrants, professional workforce, etc. So this huge number, 1 million people, actually witnesses that Korean economy has been reliant on people not only in 3D fields, but also foreigners who are employed in professional fields. All across the OECD, there has been a shortage in people employed in STEM, and these days in Korea in medical professions as well. So actually, in one word, the future of Korean economy depends on successful introduction and integration of foreign workers into the economy.
It certainly will have a huge impact on the Korean economy, as you mentioned. And like many other government-managed systems, the employment permit system has its pros and cons, which we'll explore in more detail as we move on. Professor Cho, the government has raised the number of E9 non-professional work visas for foreign workers under the employment permit system to 165,000 this year, which marks the highest level to date. What's the government aiming for?
Well, this is reflecting the current reality, which
is that there is a huge mismatch between job seekers and the jobs that are available in the marketplace. Essentially, we actually have not a low youth unemployment numbers, and yet the kind of jobs that they want to have are not readily available in the market. Instead, the employers are actually seeking to fill low-skill, simple labor type jobs that are not attractive to local Korean native workers who are seeking higher paying, better conditioned jobs. And so to fill this gap, the government has opened up the E9 visa program, which used to be restricted very much to the 3D type jobs that Dr. Zemir mentioned earlier. And so they used to be really sort of concentrated in heavy industries, manufacturing, agriculture, fisheries, etc. But now they are opening this up to accommodation businesses, service industry, including restaurants, and so forth. And it also includes this pilot program for nannies that they have just recently begun.
So the expansion is expected to significantly help fill job vacancies that are often avoided by Korean workers. But this time, the Korean government is also opening up the positions across various other industries as well, meaning a lot more opportunities for foreign workers as well. But the lack of necessary protections for the foreign workers involved is another important issue, which brings us to the next question. Dr. Zemire, the employment permit system was introduced to prevent discrimination between domestic and foreign workers and to ensure equal employment conditions. But as you've mentioned, it has faced significant criticism that it's leading to human rights abuses of migrant workers. Could you tell us more in detail about the underlying issues here?
Well, as I mentioned, the EPS system, even though seen as initial win of the civil society, proved to have numerous problems. And just to name the few, it is a temporary system in its nature, which means that employee can stay here only up to 5 years. And if they want to stay longer, which many of them do, then they become undocumented, meaning they effectively become illegal workers. And this is a very, very dangerous situation because then they have zero protections. And often many of them become victims of some kind of exploitation, discrimination, abuse, etc. And then the second problem is the fact that within these 5 years of legally permitted stay, they can change employer only 3 times. And this should be done only with a prior approval from their boss. So if they are a little bit unlucky, if they have met abusive employer, then highly likely they would be subjected to extortions, blackmails, etc. And actually, National Human Rights Commission has been reporting on these kind of violations. So then the solution is changing the system from being employer-centric to employee-centric, meaning that employees, both foreigners and Koreans, they should be able to voice their concerns, demands to relevant institutions. And also this system should have zero tolerance for any form of discrimination, both gender or nationality or religion. I know this kind of system is very hard to achieve, but as a proverb says, where there is a will, there is a way. So if Korea can achieve this kind of system, then this system would be advanced. It would be a system as we see in the most advanced OECD countries. And consequently, Korea can become more attractive destination for foreign workers who wish to come, who wish to contribute.
Migrant workers not being able to move their workplaces without their employer's agreement, as you pointed out, is one of the key issues that call for urgent attention. And it seems we need other alternative measures, and we need them fast. And Because, like you mentioned, where there is will, there will be a way. Now, Professor Cho, the hot button issue on the employment permit system is the pilot program involving some 100 caregivers from the Philippines who will start working as domestic helpers from next month. And we've learned that the program will mark the first exception to the EPS. How will the program differ from other jobs under the EPS and why?
So one huge drawback that you mentioned, and Dr. Zamira as well, under the EPS system is that the worker is typically tied or even indentured to one workplace, and the worker is not free to move or change jobs without the consent of the existing employer. In fact, it is usually the case that the worker, the migrant worker, is actually assigned or matched to one specific workplace even before he or she sets a foot in Korea. But under this pilot program for child caregivers that's being run currently, or that just begun, the worker will be actually matched with the prospective employer after the 1 month trial training period that they will undergo, which has just started. And they are also able to work for more than one employer at a time. And if they find that their employer is incomparable, or the conditions are incomparable with what they're looking for whatever reason, it is possible that they can request to the employment agency that is acting as the middleman here to actually switch workplaces. So that's a big difference from the existing E9 program.
There are hopes and concerns over the Filipino Domestic Helper Initiative. Dr. Zamide, what are your prospects? And could an expansion of the program be one good way to tackle Korea's dwindling birth rate?
Well, you know, the low birth rate in Korea has been a Achilles heel of Korean society and highly likely social problem number one. So this problem is a systemic problem and it requires systemic solutions. I don't think that introducing one or two programs can actually solve the problem. However, as you know, many Korean mothers, they have been subjected to a very difficult choice. And that choice is between continuing their careers or childbirth and child rearing. I don't think that any mother should be given this kind of difficult choice. So in this respect, introducing Filipino babysitters and helpers, I think it could be a good solution. But we also need to understand that Korean parents and also foreign parents who live in Korea, all of them are concerned with the well-being of their child, especially when left alone home with a babysitter. So also from the opposite side, Filipino babysitter may be concerned about the nature of the family they enter into, whether is it safe, whether they are abusive, etc. So in this respect, Korean government agencies, they should play a very good control role to avoid any kind of safety problem. And also they should be playing a very good mediating role so that both sides have a good institution, good channel to talk to voice their concerns. Again, this initiative will not solve completely the problem of low birth rate, but it can assist Korean mothers. To solve the problem completely, we should address more systemic measures, such as more favorable welfare and labor policies.
So it could be one good way, but cannot be a fundamental solution to the plunging birth rate. Now, Professor Cho, as Dr. Zamide has briefly touched upon, there are concerns over the pilot program. Activist groups have urged the government to protect the Filipino workers from exploitation or other non-favorable working conditions. Tell us more about this and your thoughts.
Well, the domestic help labor market is a sector that is particularly susceptible to exploitation and potential abuse simply because the workplace is a private sphere, somebody's private home. And so it's not easy to subject it to open supervision or scrutiny. Now, the current pilot program that's being run by the Seoul City, I trust that there won't be so many hiccups or issues being raised in this trial program, simply because the Seoul City and also the agencies that are involved will be bending over backwards to ensure that issues are resolved and resolved quickly, because they want to make it into a success so that they can expand the program. But there are already pressures in terms of questions raised over the cost, the scope of duties for these child caregivers, and also the potential effect on competition in the domestic caregiver providers. And so there are many areas where there are potential frictions that might arise, and we have yet to see any real details on the kind of safety measures, the mediating role and such that the Dr. Zemia talked about, and also the Seoul City really should provide, and either directly or through the agency. Now, given that these caregivers have been almost handpicked specifically by the Filipino government, and also will be under very close supervision, I believe, by the metropolitan government and the agencies, again, the trial program, I trust, will be running smoothly, but it's when the numbers increase, the scope increases, and more pressures are placed on the program, we will see inevitably lots of conflicts that may arise.
So the real problem may begin when we see an expansion of the numbers of foreign caregivers. Now, as you mentioned, the blurred boundaries of the Filipino helpers' tasks are one of the key problems. We need a more specific and clear set of guidelines on their tasks and on their and ways to ensure their safety as well, it seems. Now, payment for the foreign domestic helpers is another controversial issue. While some argue that they should be paid Korea's minimum hourly wage, others say that doing so would make the monthly cost too high for many Korean households. Professor Cho, what's your take?
So this is where, we have to think about the purpose of this program. If the intention of the government is really trying to raise a low birth rate through this program, it's really a non-starter, even without having to looking at the program, because A, the numbers are too small, and B, the cost is actually too high for an average middle-class family. For them to actually afford this kind of nanny from overseas. Now, it would be indefensible for us to say we're not going to apply the minimum wage to these foreign workers, particularly given that we are actually holding the chairmanship of the International Labour Organization, and we have signed up to the Anti-Discrimination Convention under the ILO that prohibits us from discriminating against foreign workers to domestic workers. But leaving that aside, the cost that is payable by the employer to these nannies are not that much lower than the existing domestic help or live-in nannies that they may be able to recruit in the domestic market. And so in terms of cost, they're not that competitive. And so even if you look at the people who've actually applied for this program, they were expecting thousands of families to apply, but currently there has only been 400 or 500 applications. So that's really sort of seeing that the kind of limitations of the program as well.
And the Korean government is looking to expand foreign workforce to tackle labor shortage and demographic crisis. Dr. Zemire, what efforts need to be made to ensure a favorable working environment for them and protect their basic rights?
Well, you asked me a very difficult question, and I think the answer is approximately $1 million word, but let me try. So as you know, when it comes to foreigners, the labor in Korea has two pillars, and one pillar relates to foreigners employed in non-professional workforce. So we speak about 3D jobs, the dirty, the dangerous, the difficult jobs that are being avoided by Koreans. And from this year, we see foreigners employed in service sector and, as Professor Choi mentioned, babysitters and caregivers. So traditionally, unfortunately, this kind of sector has been subjected to various forms of discriminations, exploitations, human rights abuses. And definitely tackling this kind of problem is a part of the solution. And then the second pillar are people employed in professional fields such as professors, researchers, people employed in big companies, people working for trade, etc. All across the OECD, there has been a shortage of this kind of, let's say, global talents working especially in STEM. And these days we witness a big shortage in Korea in medical field. We have been witnessing strikes, I think, since this April. So unfortunately, Korea has been reluctant to boost the number of foreign workers in this kind of professional fields, which is actually illogical because there has been a shortage all across the OECD, and we need to know that OECD countries, they have been engaged in so-called global war for talents. This is intensive competition to ensure the future development and innovation with highly talented domestic and foreign workers. So I really hope that South Korea moves from being reluctant toward being eager to compete with the rest of the OECD. And this cannot be done only with basic rights. This can be done with ensuring good working conditions, good living conditions, and of course, tackling discrimination so many are subjected to. So if Korea can actually be successful in this kind of difficult task, then we will contribute not only to innovation and development, but we will create a society that is more fair, more just, more inclusive, not only for foreigners, but for Koreans as well. Thank you.
So opening up and hiring more skilled foreign workers is another crucial issue that need to be addressed. And South Korea needs workers and migrant workers need jobs. So it can be a win-win, and we just need to work harder on devising and implementing measures to protect their rights and ensure favorable working conditions, right? And if I may add, the Korean public and the Korean society I think also needs to be more open-minded about welcoming in a foreign workforce. And that's where we'll conclude our discussion today. Thank you so much, Dr. Zamire, as always, for your perspectives.
Thank you.
And many thanks to you as well, Professor Cho, for your valuable insights.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and be sure to tune in same time tomorrow to join our conversation. Goodbye for now.